Welcome to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast, your trusted source for simple strategies to improve your mental and physical fitness. Throughout this podcast, we will discuss how you can manage your mental health by practicing mental fitness, building emotional resilience and curiosity to handle life's challenges. We'll also highlight the crucial link between physical fitness and your overall mental well-being. My name is DJ Ligori, and I want you to realize that you are not alone with this challenge. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and welcome to today's episode. All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and we are officially on episode number 108 of the show. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to tune into today's episode. If you find some value from what we have to talk about today, which I'm biased, but I think it's going to be some valuable insight, I would super appreciate if you liked this episode and this podcast, gave it a review, you subscribe to it, or maybe even you send it to somebody who you think needs to benefit from what we talk about today. And what we want to talk about today is productivity. And I accidentally kind of stumbled upon a really logical and simple way to, I think, be more productive. And I tested it all last week, and it literally never failed me. And as I was getting ready for this episode, I was like, wow, I really think people would benefit from this if we actually learned how to slow down and try to actually implement this into our daily work. I'm curious if this actually works for other people. And so one of the things that I've talked about before is if you want to increase your confidence, do what you say you're going to do. And I really related that to the way that I set up every single one of my days. So every morning I wake up, I work out in the morning, I come home, I eat my breakfast, and I do my morning routine. And part of my morning routine is actually planning what my day is going to look like. So I will actually write down like morning routine. Then I'll write down 30 minutes of reading. And I will actually go through and basically visualize what I want to accomplish in that day. Now, here's the thing that can kind of, create a little anxiety in my life is when I actually have these lists of things that I want to create in those days, when I don't actually create all of those things or complete all of those tasks, that hurts my confidence because I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. And what I realized was sometimes this is kind of like when your eyes are too big for your stomach. Sometimes, I wrote this down here, our productivity prediction is actually bigger than our productivity completion. And so we think that we can actually be more productive than we actually are. Because throughout the day, there are things that are going to pop up that we aren't necessarily going to have factored into our day. Maybe we look at our phone and we go down a rabbit hole on social media for 20 minutes or a half an hour. Very easy to do that. Maybe we accidentally look at our email and we end up going down this very long email thread and have to answer all these questions. And there goes some more of our time that we hadn't actually prepared for. So we can often overshoot what we think we are going to do in a day. I know that I've personally done this many times, and I don't like the feeling at the end of the day looking back and like, I didn't complete that task. I didn't complete that task. Why? Oh yeah, because I accidentally spent 45 minutes on fantasy football, right? These little things get in our way and we don't necessarily incorporate those into our day in the beginning, and then our whole day ends up getting out of whack. So here's what I accidentally started to do. I started timing every single one of my tasks, because when I started timing every single one of my tasks, what it ended up doing was it ended up making it almost like a little game. Like, hey, let's see if I can complete this in 30 minutes, or let's see if I can complete this in 60 minutes. And so what I decided to do was, for every task that I predicted I was going to complete in that day, I would ask myself, is it going to take me longer than 30 minutes, or is it going to take me shorter than 60 minutes? And so if it was going to be longer than 30 minutes or longer than 60 minutes, if I thought it was going to be longer than 30 minutes, I only gave myself an hour. If I thought it was going to be something that wasn't going to take me that long, I only gave myself 30 minutes. So I literally just broke my day into 30-minute increments and 60-minute increments. And what I ended up realizing was when I started to kind of create this little game with myself, I ended up getting super focused on exactly what I was working on. And I stopped basically allowing myself to be distracted by the internet or by the TV or by my phone, because I got super focused on, all right, I only have 60 minutes to complete this, or I only have 30 minutes to complete this. Let's get really efficient with whatever it is that I'm working on. And so I realized that productivity isn't really like just this ray of work where you just are constantly working at a steady pace. Productivity is really more like a wave. It's kind of like it goes up and then it goes down. If you time yourself for like 30 minutes and you get a lot of work done in those 30 minutes, you can then take 10 to 15 minutes off and kind of come back down from that productivity high, you could say. It's kind of like art and music. Music is beautiful when there is a mixture of notes that are actually being played that we can hear, as well as silence. It's that nice little balance. It's the same thing that goes for art. Art is beautiful when you see art that has like a piece where there's like areas of visual stimulation and then areas of no visual stimulation, right? Empty space versus filled space. So if we look at productivity like that, as it's more of like this up and down balance of time, I feel like we could do a better job of it. Because what happens is when we are in those upswings, you could say the up wave of when you're actually timing yourself, whether you're in a 30-minute time or a 60-minute time, you become very intentional with what you're doing. Because you know that you only have, say, 30 minutes to work on that task. You're not allocating time to go on your email, or you're not allocating time to go on your phone or go on social media. Whatever task you're working on, you have specifically allocated 30 minutes to that task, and you're going to stay more focused on it. And so I realized that throughout the week, I started doing this with each one of my tasks. And I asked myself, I said, all right, when do I want to stop working each day? When is it too much to say, all right, I'm going to do 6 things and each one of those are going to take me 1 hour, and then I'm going to do 5 of these things and each one of those is going to take me a half an hour. By the end of the day, I've worked for 9 hours. That doesn't sound that great if you just work completely 9 hours straight through, right? We want to have a little bit of fluctuation, a little bit of fluctuation with our schedule, so then we're not just ripping this ray of productivity and we're crushing ourselves throughout the day. Because I'm realizing that if we actually take time to slow down, we can actually go faster. Because when you take the time to actually be deliberate about timing yourself for 30 minutes or 60 minutes, you end up actually being more focused and you end up producing better work with that time. Because now there's a specific set of guidelines, right? You have to get this done within 30 minutes, or you have to get this done within 60 minutes. And I was noticing that I was being more efficient with that time because I was basically setting a guideline for myself. And I think this also kind of plays into, if you want to improve anything, measure it. Well, what I'm doing here and what I'm kind of speaking about in this podcast is let's measure our productivity in 30 and 60-minute increments and visualize this wave, right? We're not just going on a straight line of productivity throughout our day. We're going on a wave. We're going to go 30 minutes on, and then we're going to take maybe 10 to 15 minutes off. Here's the other interesting thing. When you actually take time off from your productivity, time yourself. Literally say, all right, I'm going to take a 15-minute break. If you time yourself for 15 minutes, it actually feels a little bit longer than 15 minutes. And here's a great example. I remember when I was a little kid and I had to read, I think it was 15 minutes a night, a book. And then I had to have like a parent sign the permission thing that like, yes, little DJ read his book for 15 minutes, and it was instilling discipline into us and getting us into, reading and things like that. Well, I remember like my mom setting the timer on the microwave and me looking at that timer like, oh, that thing is moving slow, right? It was not moving fast. That's the same type of feeling that happens when you start to time these things. Is it almost feels like time slows down because it gets very minute. It gets very micro. And so when you take time out of your day to really chunk down exactly the time it takes you to do certain tasks, it actually feels like you have more time. So that's why I realized, like, once I started doing these 30 and 60-minute increments, I was getting more done and I was doing better work, which I think was super important. So Here's the productivity hack of the day. Look at the things that you want to do in your day. See if the things that are going to take you longer than an hour, see if you can do them in 60 minutes. And the things that are going to take you longer than 30 minutes, see if you can do them in 30 minutes. Because what ends up happening is you end up putting the phone away, you end up turning the TV off, you end up minimizing that email tab, and you end up condensing your focus, getting very laser focused in on whatever that task is, and you end up completing it in that time. You end up completing it in that 60 minutes or those 30 minutes. And then what you also do is you allow yourself free time after. You give yourself a 10 to a 15 minute break after, and then you're on the downslope of that wave. After that 15 minutes, then what is your next task you're going to hit? I did this for full 5 days, all of last week, and I have to say I was the most productive I think I'd ever been because I was prioritizing things. I was understanding time better. I'm literally doing it right now. I've literally timed myself for this podcast because I know how long it typically takes me to record one, how long it typically takes me to edit one, and how long it typically takes me to upload one. I'm trying to do this literally all in 1 hour, and I'm going to test myself and see if this is something that I can do. So I highly suggest trying this. It is, like I said, I did this for 5 days, and it was like a completely different shift in the things that I was getting done and how I kind of felt throughout the day. Like I said, I felt like I was actually slowing down, but I was getting more work done and I was doing better work. So I highly suggest that. Look at what your tasks are throughout your day. Plan your day in advance. Look at the things that you think are going to take you longer than 60 minutes and see if you can condense them into 60 minutes by getting deliberate with timing it of 60 minutes. And do the same thing for anything that you think is going to take you longer than 30 minutes. See if you can get it done in 30 minutes by timing it as well. I truly believe that if we focus on perceiving productivity as this wave of ups and balances, and we have our times that we're on, and then we have our times that we're relaxing, we will be more productive, we will get more done, and we will do better work. So I hope that this provided some valuable, a little life hack, you could say, or a little productivity hack to all of us, because we all want to get a lot of things done. And sometimes, like I said, our eyes are too big for our stomach. Our productivity predictions are bigger than our productivity completion. All right. So I hope that this helped. I hope that this was valuable. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, 15 minutes out of your day to listen to this podcast. Hopefully, maybe this was what you listened to on your break. Maybe this is what you listened to when you were on because you thought it was going to help you with your productivity. So either or, thank you so much for your time today. Super grateful. And everybody have a great week. We will talk to you guys soon. We'll see you. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. If you received something interesting from today's episode, we would kindly appreciate if you could leave us a rating or a review, or even share this podcast with someone you believe needs to hear its message. The Libraries and Weight Rooms brand is a division of our parent company, Acres of Diamonds, where we are on a mission to end mental suffering through mental fitness. If you would like to learn more about our mission and support this cause, please visit our website at www.youracresofdiamonds.com. Take care, keep leading, and we will talk to you soon.